Hello everyone, it is Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome to my top 10 duels that we wish we saw in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. This is the fourth video of Arc 5 Bonanza Week, and this definitely will be a more fun, positive one than the disappointments one we did yesterday. And as always, I am looking forward to hearing some duels I might not have mentioned that you guys thought of in the comments below. Now, to be eligible for this list, the characters have had to have been in Arc 5, so a character like Jaeger or Lazar is eligible since he did make a physical appearance, while a character like Kaiba is unfortunately not eligible since he never appeared in the show. With that being said, let's get right to it. I thank you guys for watching, and I really hope you guys enjoy. Number 10. Just cracking my top 10 is a duel that would pit sister versus sister, and that is Grace Tyler versus Gloria Tyler. These two characters both deserved so much better, as many characters in Arc 5 did, and I think a duel between the two of them would have been extremely fun to watch and would have helped their characters immensely. It would have made perfect sense too. The entire duration of the show, even after the Tyler twins became background characters, Grace fell in love with Yuya and his entertainment style of dueling, while Gloria resented it to some degree, or if she did like it, she definitely was not as upfront about it as Grace was. This could have led to these two disagreeing with each other's ideologies, and thus setting up a duel between these two in the XZ's arc. Never have we seen sisters duel, and this could have been a perfect time to see that finally happen. I would imagine the duel would conclude with Grace defeating Gloria, which leads to Gloria defecting in a more natural, not rushed way, unlike the way the show actually executed their defection. When we have 5 episodes to see a duel with the Battle Beast take place, there was definitely enough time to fit in a 1 or 2 episode duel between these twins, and I think it's a duel a lot of people would have loved to see. Number 9. At the number 9 spot is another duel that is a pretty big stretch to justify, but would have been really awesome to see, and that is Jack and Kaito versus the Doctor. This was actually suggested by Spatial Mewtwo, the person who makes my thumbnails for these lists, in a podcast a few months ago. Not only would this have given us a chance to see Kaito and Jack team up, but it would have actually given the Doctor a duel, and once he was defeated, then Leo could have carded him for not being skilled enough or something like that. Heck, even Kaito could have carded him. Instead, we never see the Doctor duel, which was just a waste, honestly. That whole brainwashing gimmick was absolutely pointless in hindsight. You know what? We might as well just give all the legacy characters some love in this instance and throw Edo in there as well. If you've seen my top 10 disappointments video, you'll know I was not too big on that Yugo and Yuri duel, mainly because Edo and Kaito intrude in it. Had this duel taken place, we would have not only seen maybe the greatest triple threat ever in a Yu-Gi-Oh duel, but Edo and Kaito wouldn't have had to bother with the Yugo versus Yuri duel. Instead, these three can just pummel and absolutely obliterate the Doctor, which, let's be honest, we all wanted to see. This duel takes 9th on my list. Number 8. While that Doctor duel was going on, how about we give Leo Akaba a legit duel he can win to build him up a little bit before he takes on Yuya and his son Reiji. Coming in at 8 is another duel that is a little bit of a stretch to justify happening, and that is Barrett and Rajay versus Akaba Leo. We don't get enough villain versus villain duels, and the times we do, they are usually really memorable. Aporia versus Zone, Bakura versus Marek, just to name a couple. Barrett and Rajay magically disappear after the Synchro arc, and they are literally never heard from again, and I feel like they deserved closure to some degree. Getting defeated and carded by Leo would have been that closure exactly. We know Rajay used to work for Academia and split away from Leo due to his own ambitions. Maybe Barrett disagreed with the brainwashing gimmick or just became fed up with Leo's plan, kind of ending up seeing through it similar to how Serena did and turns on him. That way we have Rajay and Barrett get one last important duel. We can see Leo get built up a little bit before he takes on Yuya and Reiji and before he loses to Zark in 30 seconds. Leo would obviously win this duel, but I think it would have been a really cool one to see, and it comes at the number 8 spot on this list. Number 7. Making this list at the number 7 spot is Shingo Sawatari versus Yuri. I was convinced this was a duel that we would get, and I was convinced this would be the duel that Sawatari gets one of the more powerful death scenes in the show, but alas, it never happened. Let me explain. Shingo is the only character who faced 3 of the U-Boys. He faced Yuya twice, he faced Yuto, and he faced Yugo. I just figured that it was bound to happen for him to verse them all, but mysteriously, he never verses Yuri. Now, Shingo did not pick up one win throughout Arc 5, and the fact that Yuri is one of the better duelists out of the U-Boys, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who would win this duel. Still, this could have been a good duel for his character, who really didn't do anything one-on-one related after the Synchro arc, and it could have been a good duel for Yuri as well to defeat someone and card someone from the main Lancer group. This could have led to a really powerful farewell/death scene, which is something Arc 5 really, really lacked. Alas, we never got to see this one, and it does make my list at the number 7 position. Number 6. It's not entirely uncommon for an opening to completely misguide us as to what duels might be occurring in the episodes to follow, and making this list at the 6th spot is a matchup between Yuya and Yugo. The third opening, Unleashed, shows Yuya and Yugo's dragons battling each other while it seems they both call for an attack or something that requires them to scream intensely. This led to 99% of people believing a Yuya vs Yugo duel was on the cards and bound to happen. Unfortunately, it never did. Arguably the two purest of the U-boys, it would have been a lot of fun to see these two go at it, especially with how enjoyable the Yuya vs Yuri duel was. It just makes you wish this duel did take place. It could have happened during the tournament instead of Yuya vs Crow. They could have done Yuya vs Yugo while Jack took on Sergei because Crow went missing or was purposely injured by Rajay or something like that. They definitely could have made this take place. Yuya's the protagonist, so I think he would have come out on top. But this could have easily been one of the most memorable duels of the Synchro arc. The reason it isn't higher on my list is because both of these characters probably would have gone into Berserk, and I just never really enjoyed seeing Berserk mode all that much because it almost feels like it's not actually them dueling. Still, it would have been cool to see, and it just misses out in the top 5 and comes in 6th on my list. Number 5. Well, I hope you guys are enjoying so far.
We're at the halfway point. Doing great so far.
No. Get that damn Pokemon rap out of here. Sorry about that, everyone. Anyways, let's move on. Coming in at number 5 is any Legacy vs. Legacy duel. I am still bitter. We never got to see any of the following potential mouth-watering matchups. Kaido vs. Jack, Kaido vs. Edo, Asuka vs. Edo, Asuka vs. Kaido, Edo vs. Crow. Really, any Legacy vs. Legacy duel would have been amazing to see. The closest we got was when Edo and Kaido teamed up against Yugo and Yuri, but you know my thoughts on that duel. With Kaido's stubbornness when we first get introduced to him, along with the fact that Edo was literally a general of Academia, there are so many matchups that could have made perfect sense. And the best part about a Legacy vs. Legacy duel is the unpredictability, which is sometimes rare in Yu-Gi-Oh! You know in the protagonist duels in the second half of the show they never lose. This could have been a breath of fresh air during the Xyz or Fusion arc because we genuinely would have no clue who would win. Jack or Kaido, Edo or Kaido, Asuka or Edo. Take your pick. This is probably the only time we will have ever been able to see two of these classic characters go at it, and unfortunately, they never gave us an opportunity to witness it. These scenarios make my top 5 and lead the top 5 portion of this list. Number 4. Now we are really getting into the duels that we would have probably all loved to see, and coming in at 4 is a U-Boy versus Bracelet Girl duel, preferably all 4 U-Boys versus all 4 Bracelet Girls in a gauntlet-style duel. For this to have worked, they would have had to go a completely different route with the entire story, but the premise is Yuri has been somewhat redeemed at this point, the Bracelet Girls are still under mind control, and the only way to save them is to defeat them in a duel. This can either be a 4v4 or a one-at-a-time setup where the U-Boys and Bracelet Girls can switch in and out, almost like a tag team. That might get a little confusing, and a 4-on-4 might get very hectic. Even if you want to take mind control out of the equation, how about a duel where Serena, upon returning to Academia, decides to join the Academia faction again? Yugo and Rin, in order to save each other, have to fight for Academia as well, which sets up a Yuri, Serena, Yugo, Rin versus Yuya, Yuzu, Yuto, and Ruri duel. I guess the only point I'm trying to make is I would have loved to see all 8 counterparts involved in a duel together. Sadly, the closest thing we got was Yuya versus Ruri and Serena, which I enjoyed a lot, but I still feel like they could have done a lot more of an impactful duel with all of these characters. The prospect of a duel like this comes in at the number 4 spot. Number 3. Taking the bronze on this list is a duel that technically might fill the requirements of the 4th one, and that is Rei vs. Zark. We know a duel between these two happened in the past, but we know absolutely nothing about it besides that Rei was able to use the 4 cards to split the world, herself and Zark, into 4. As we approach the start of the Zark duel, it seemed Zark vs. Rei was a guarantee, but instead, we got a crazy 11 vs. 1 duel, and if that wasn't insane enough, Rei wasn't even one of those 11 people. Instead, she, I guess, took over Reira or fought through Reira, and she used the 4 cards to defeat Zark and then seal him. I remember a lot of people, kind of including myself, didn't want to see Rei defeat Zark because it would have been a repeat of what happened before, but my god, in hindsight, I take that back. I would have loved to see these two go at it for 2 or 3 episodes, even if Reiji teamed up with Rei in the beginning and then ended up losing, but ultimately Rei was the one who defeated Zark. That would have been really cool to see as well. We definitely would have gotten backstory on what happened in the past. It would have felt like neither of these characters were wasted, especially Rei. Instead, we get a calamitous 11 vs. 1 duel in which Rei doesn't even participate, and then after the duel ended, we got nothing from either of these characters during the 8-episode epilogue. This duel could have answered so many unanswered questions, and made us feel like these characters lived up to potential, which is why it's so high on my list, taking the bronze medal. Number 2. Funny enough, I made this list before the final episode aired, and coming in as the runner-up is a duel that we know is definitely taking place, and that is Yuya vs. Yusho. While it is taking place, we will never be able to watch it with our own eyes, so it's still very eligible for this list. This is one of those duels I'm actually very surprised was not the ceremonial battle. Don't get me wrong, I am one of those rare people that prefer to Yuya vs. Reiji, but still, admittedly, I would have loved to see this duel as well. I genuinely was entertained the seldom times we saw Yusho duel, and I think a duel between him and Yuya could have potentially been the best duel we would have saw in terms of entertainment. Also, after the ending, we will always be left to wonder if Yuya surpassed his father. Realistically speaking, Yusho shouldn't have a chance since he lost to Yuri, and now Yuya has crazy OP monsters thanks to being one with Yuto, Yuri, and Yugo. But there is such a thing called plot armor in Yu-Gi-Oh, and while it almost always favors the protagonist, you wonder if Yusho would somehow pull it off and give the message to Yuya that he still has room to grow and get better. Not a completely crazy scenario. Either way, this would have been a very entertaining duel. Never before have we seen a father and son duel, so it's a shame it looks like we may never see a duel like that take place. Yuya vs. Yusho is the runner-up spot on this list. Number 1. The number 1 duel that we wish we saw, in my opinion, is a duel between Akiba Reiji and Kurosaki Shun. This would have taken place during the first 50 episodes of Arc 5, more specifically when Shun was going around carding everyone and just brutally defeating anyone that crossed his path. This would have been a perfect storm. You have two duelists who are seemingly untouchable going at it with one another. While Shun did have a lot of screen time throughout Arc 5, the one complaint a lot of people have about Reiji is that he didn't duel enough, and this would have been a perfect time for him to get a big win early in the show by defeating a character who at the time seemed unstoppable. With this win, Reiji could have told Shun he would spare his life if he partakes in the tournament. That way you still get the classic Shun vs. Sora duel, and his motivations don't really change across the board. Another reason this is number 1 is because it really looked like this duel was a guarantee to happen. Right after Shun defeats the LDS trio, Akiba Reiji steps in and the episode ends with them staring at each other. Instead, Reiji talks his way out of it. I wish this duel happened. I still feel like it could have been one of the best duels Arc 5 had to offer, especially since they were so close to dueling each other too. It just seems like a complete gut punch that this never ended up taking place. Regardless, in my opinion, this is the number 1 duel that we wish we saw in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. 4 down, 2 to go. I really hope you guys are enjoying Bonanza Week. I'm having a blast so far. And let me know any of the duels that I mentioned that you would like to see. Let me know some duels that I did not mention that you would like to see as well, whether they are practical or completely impractical, like Jaeger vs. Divine, because those two characters did both show up in this show. Obviously, writing them in would be extremely hard to do, but whatever combinations you guys have, I would love to hear them down below. Thank you, as always, so much for the support. Thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you guys in the comments below. I hope you have a tremendous day.
I want to be the best that ever was, to beat all the rest. Yeah, that's my cause.
Electro, Diglett, Nidoran, Mankey, Venusaur, Rattata, Pharaoh, Pidgey, Sea King, Jolteon, Dragonite.